So Frontier have announced something that could genuinely change how Elite plays at its very core. They're calling it a feature reboot, and it's set for a 2026 release. Now, they specifically connected this to a core system that touches on many aspects of the game, and that tells us that this isn't a minor tweak. It's not a balanced past, this is something that should go far deeper. In fact, Frontier themselves have said that this change is deeply situated in the core of Elite. And yes, that means that 2026 is shaping up to be a very good year for the game. With operations set to arrive shortly and big plans for later in the year, it sounds as though Elite is heading in the right direction. So today I'm going to run through some ranked guesses at what Frontier are planning, and whilst I'm doing that, please do the same. Go to that comment box whilst I'm talking and leave a comment. Would you feel Frontier are most likely going to reboot as the core feature for Elite? What would you like to see? What do you most expect them to do? And as you type in that, do keep in mind that reboot is a very strong word. It's not update, it's not rework, it's not even improve. It actually tells us Frontier are going deep on this and not just tweaking around the edges. So let's start with the one I think is most likely, and I think many of you will probably agree. I suspect it's very likely that Frontier are going to be looking at the background simulation, the BGS, and this is going to get a complete reboot. Partially because this is a core system to Elite, almost everything expands out from this central point. And also because if you reboot the background simulation, you effectively overhauled the entire game in many distinct ways. And as I go through these ideas, I'm going to give the odds for each one of them. I'd place the background simulation, the BGS reboot, at a 65% chance that this is going to happen. And this is my personal speculation. What do you think? Do you agree? Do you disagree? Ultimately, this is the beating heart of Elite Dangerous. It drives the economies, it drives factions, it even touches into colonization and conflicts and much more with the game itself. And more than that, this actually connects very well with what Frontier said about the core reboot being deeply situated within the game and impacting many parts of the game. To me, this screams the BGS. But the bigger question is, how would such a reboot work? Well, here's what I'd like to see. Very simply put, I'd like to see the background simulation made real. So right now, it exists as kind of a spreadsheet in the background, and we see the actions and results of that spreadsheet each week as the tick happens and the galaxy updates. But what I'd like to see is something far more physical. I want to move from pure data-driven aspects of the game to something you can actually see and interact with in real space. And hey, listen, I know exactly what you're saying here. How is that going to work? What would that look like in game? Well, it's pretty straightforward. It would look physical. So if a system is in a boom, instead of just seeing a boom on the economy, what we'd actually see is a whole ton of cargo ships and transport ships inside that system. You'd see a lot more traffic at stations and around planets. Conflicts would be a lot more interesting. Instead of just having a few conflict zones, we should have battle lines forming. A front line in the system that would change day to day, with your real impact, your real fighting actually moving that line back or forward depending on how you're signing with that. And rich systems, well, they should actually feel rich. We should see much better quality ships in those areas, and poorer systems should feel poor, maybe broken infrastructure and fewer ships, visible decay in other words. How does that sound to you? So yeah, there's a lot that could be done with the background simulation, and of course all of this should be built around the idea of making the system far less opaque than it is right now, a bit more transparent, and giving people ideas and missions on exactly what they need to do to achieve specific results. Next up, I think the next most likely fix of reboot would be crime and punishment. I've put the odds here at around about 20%. So, crime and punishment has been absolutely broken for a long time now. It's absolutely terrible in my opinion, and that's not because Elite Dangerous is a bad game, but it's simply because it's very opaque, very difficult, and well, you can quite easily make mistakes and find yourself attracting a load of bounties, security problems, and many other issues as well. The issue with the crime and punishment in Elite Dangerous is that, for the most part, in my opinion, it attacks and attracts and targets the wrong people. It targets most players who have to play it safe and really doesn't penalise the people it should be punishing. Yes, it's fair to say that Elite Dangerous is a harsh galaxy, but how many times have you clipped a ship, exiting the docking ring, and had a fine and then struggled to pay that off because you've got to go to the right location, especially if you only notice that fine at a much later date? You know what, I don't suppose I need to go into too much detail here. Ultimately, anyone who's played Elite Dangerous for any length of time will know that crime and punishment in the game is not really fit for purpose. So I put this one relatively high up the list because it is a broken feature, but I put it down lower because I don't feel like crime and punishment ties into absolutely every aspect of the game, unlike the background simulation. Lower down, we come to the next potential reboot. This would be the mission system. I'd put the odds at this at around about 10%, although I'd like this one to be much higher. So ultimately, for a very long time now, many people have asked for better missions, and whether they just want multi-stage missions, I do feel that operations is a step towards the right direction on this, but obviously it does seem as though that is a completely separate system. But let's look at it this way. A reboot could absolutely fix the repetition and low rewards that we have in the mission system right now, as well as all the clutter that's actually there. So a couple of examples here. Chained multi-stage missions. You can start with a data scan or investigation and then progress to chases, combats, or even rescue missions across different systems. This would feel like a little bit of a story, like a mini campaign, rather than just isolated tasks. Then we'd have some dynamic ties, perhaps with the background simulations. Missions here would be generated from the Galaxy station. Yes, I know they are right now, but I feel this could be far more apparent. Also, we could see more variety and hybrid mission types where you actually need different ships to achieve different targets. Smaller, nimbler ships for type of infiltration missions perhaps, as well as the big chunky ships where you need more armor. There's a lot that could be done with this and make it a lot more integrated into how Elite actually works. And finally, we come to the trade system. I'd love to see a trade overhaul. This is a thing I'd most like to see out of all of these 4 items in this part of the list. But I'd put this down at 5% because I suspect Frontier would probably prefer to focus on other things first. Nonetheless, a improved trade system would open up dynamic global supply chains. For example, we'd start seeing a real-time supply and demand that actually shifts all across the galaxy. Examples here would be war-blocking routes, booms actually creating shortages, and your players' actions would then start visibly impacting the prices and states at various different stations and systems. And yes, this happens right now to a degree, but it is simulated rather than actualized. I'd also like to see a lot more of the trading system tools brought directly inside the game. We really shouldn't be relying on tools that are outside of the game. All of that should be directly inside the game, and we should have a big improvement to the UI system, the trading UI interface, that would really carry all of that. Something I'd really like to see. So those are the systems that I most expect to see that are going to be changing for the upcoming reboot. But there's also another section here, things that we'd like to hope for. These are the dream scenarios, the stuff that to me would make 2026 a legendary update, a legendary year for Elite Dangerous. I'll go through each of these very, very quickly because I don't want to focus on them too heavily because I feel they're probably fairly unlikely at this point. At the top of the list, of course, you know me, would be exploration. I'd love to see a whole load more stuff introduced, including black hole accretion disks, comets, supernovas, better and improved nebula, and many more things besides. And if we go down on the planets, and the current planets, well, caves would be a good start, but also opening up new planets such as atmospheric worlds and adding in volumetric clouds. Not to mention water, rivers, seas, all that sort of stuff, as well as forests and other flora. That, of course, is a bit much to hope for perhaps, but it's still something I'd really like to see. Then we come to multi-crew. Now, multi-crew still could do with a lot of improvement here. Ultimately, I'd like to see group play that doesn't suck, but, maybe, fingers crossed, this is what's going to happen with the operations update set for the April release. And then engineering, I think this one could do with a massive overhaul. It needs to be pulling out of the game and completely rebooted. And who knows, maybe this exactly is what Frontier are thinking of. But less grind and more fun would definitely be the way to go on this one. At any rate, there's my take on what might be coming on Elite Dangerous in 2026 as Frontier start rebooting one of the core features. Again, let me know in the comment section below, what are you thinking is going to be the most likely change? And also, do you think I'm wrong in this list here? Let me know in the comment section below. I'd love to hear from you. Do check out the other video on the screen right here. Thanks for watching, and I'll catch you next time.